Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 51st episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what impact it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So I'm still a little bit sick, which might be kind of apparent from my voice, but I thought since I'm pretty much trapped in the house for the next week or so, I might as well catch up on a few uploads. Stopping by hip-hop's mecca once again, today I wanted to talk about a one-of-a-kind legendary voice in hip-hop that we lost way too early, DMX. X kind of fits into a group of rappers that I've talked about before, where they aren't especially technical or lyrically dense, but by no means are slouches on the mic. Guys like X, Guru, Snoop, or even Pac to a degree, these artists left a legacy more through their personality and approach, and while the lyrics on an album like this are still insanely dope and memorable, you wouldn't be doing them justice by just printing them out and reading them. But X not doing crazy triple entendres every other line doesn't mean he isn't a great rapper. I think an important thing to understand about a lot of these MCs is just because they don't do certain things doesn't mean that they can't. I feel like It's Dark and Hell is Hot is just as lyrical as it needs to be, and his iconic drill sergeant-esque flow would lose its punch if he had super coded and obscure bars. This album is framed in a way where it's impossible to not follow the theme since it's baked into the title, the lyrics, and even the beats. This theme, of course, being hell, and every single moment of music on here is perfectly tailored to make you feel like you're walking through the gates of hell, and X is kind of the crypt keeper leading you on your journey. The reoccurring church bells add to this feeling as well, as do the ominous skits of conflict and tension, along with direct concept tracks like Damien, where X has a heart to heart with the devil on his shoulder, so to speak, in a kind of reference to the movie The Omen. As far as creating an aesthetic and sticking to it, It's Dark and Hell is Hot is the best of the best. And if you tried to swap any track here for one off the other album that DMX released in 1998, it wouldn't feel right because every moment that's on the debut is there for a specific purpose. One thing he really does excel at lyrically is dope short bars that get stuck in your head. A couple of my favorites being stretch you out like a limousine, cause where I catch you is where I catch you, that's what killing means. And stupid, that's what you get for thinking, and eventually found is what you get for stinking. One other moment I love is at the start of X is Coming, where he says, people want to see me taste my own medicine. Picture that. On some old second grade shit, I'ma get you back. Retaliate if it hates for you to think I took a loss, when all I did was shook it off. Yeah, you heard me, shook it off. But it isn't just the distinct yet dark imagery that backs up his sinister flow. He's also assisted by what are quite arguably the single best ad-libs in the genre for my money. If you somehow don't know, since dogs were such a big part of his youth and development, DMX used that as a sort of niche and would literally growl or bark as backing tracks for his verses and hooks. It adds so much to the energy, and personally, I just never get sick of it, even when it isn't a dog sound and he just yells as an ad-lib. You can't help but get hyped up. Sometimes they'll even make these noises at the beginning or end of a track, and there's a really organic connection that doesn't feel forced or unnatural. You can very much liken his delivery to a barking dog, and I think that's completely intentional. He also had zero fear of mentioning Satan or the type of unspeakable, horrific acts that guys like Eminem or Tyler the Creator would later talk about. There weren't too many lines like that, but it makes the ones that are suggesting something truly horrible stick out even more. People nowadays love to take quite literally any mention or reference of Satan in modern music and say they're promoting Satan. I don't feel like this album got that treatment, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure it had an amount of Christians up in arms. But you definitely can't call these modern artistic references to Satan evil, yet songs where X says he's directly talking to Satan are fine. Of course, it isn't an actual call to action, none of it is, it's art. Hell is the setting for this album, and you can't realistically paint a picture of that without ever mentioning Satan or hell. Make no mistake though, this isn't like 3-6 Mafia where they're using the angle of Satan and devil worshippers as a kind of horrorcore aesthetic. Not that anything's wrong with that. Obviously, I've talked about Mystic Styles and how influential and forward-thinking it is when I did my video dedicated to it. But with that album, the nefarious acts they're talking about are part of the campy, kind of edgy feel, and it's meant to be provocative and shocking. With DMX, obviously it's not like he did every insane evil thing he talks about here in real life. There's still an element of an exaggerated character, like with pretty much any album with these sort of grim themes. But that doesn't mean plenty of the references to witnessing or partaking in robbery, murder, or other crimes was just entirely fabricated. DMX brought a different angle, which was being open about the crimes in his past and repenting, but also the allure and peer pressure that enticed him with going back to sin. This sense of conflict with his religious ideology would become an essential part of his identity as an artist, and even his identity as a person in general. But completely aside from the lyrical or even instrumental quality, at this point in his career, DMX was absolutely unparalleled when it came to raw energy and total control of his audience with nothing but his voice and personality. He was able to channel that into versatility, so at times he could use his strong, commanding voice to weave more personal stories and touch on a different side, but then just as easily he could switch back to the in your face approach and tell you the 47 different ways he's going to kill you. The most famous track from here is most definitely Rough Riders' anthem, which nobody my age could possibly have not heard growing up. If you don't know Rough Riders, it was a record label and management company that also doubled as a relatively loose-knit collective. Some of the names on this roster under DMX included The Locks, Eve, Dragon, Fiend, and Swiss Beats. While Swiss is definitely a legend who stayed pretty consistent and was an essential part of defining the Rough Rider sound, there's a slight misconception where I think a lot of people assume he either fully produced It's Dark and Hell is Hot or at least did the bulk of it. However, Swizz actually only has one beat on the entire thing, but since it happened to be the pre-mentioned smash hit Rough Riders anthem, I doubt his pocket suffered too badly from it. I think a reason it's easy to assume one producer did the whole project is because it sounds so seamless and well put together. It's clear this wasn't producers just sending in their beats from different parts of the country and hoping for the best. They sound specifically crafted for X, and that can be attributed to names like Irv Gotti, Lil Rob, PK, Dame Grease, Young Lord, and Madman. Speaking of fellow Rough Riders, while DMX steers the ship the majority of the way, the previously mentioned D Block trio all have at least one feature on here, with Jada, Styles, and Sheik officially joining the Riders the following year. There's also appearances by the likes of Big Stan, Loose, Casino, Dragon, and of course Mace. This is one of those albums I'll feel bad no matter which songs I leave out, so I'll just rip the band-aid off and give my heap of honorable mentions, which are Fucking with D, Look Through My Eyes, Get At Me Dog, X Is Coming, Damien, How's It Going Down, Stop Being Greedy, For My Dogs, and The Convo. I left out the most famous song because I already talked about it multiple times and it's a bit too overplayed for it to be one of the tracks I'd go to outside of the context of the whole album. It's by no means whack though. I still enjoy it when I'm doing full listens because the verses are so infectious and hold up so well. It's really only the hook, and of course any song being overplayed, it's hardly the fault of the song or the artist, nor is it really fair for me to knock the quality because of that. With that out of the way, my three favorite tracks here would have to be the intro, Let Me Fly, and the very fitting posse cut that finishes the album off where indeed something had been started. Thank you for watching my 51st video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs off this once-in-a-lifetime debut are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.